So let's see. You want to talk about software, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, well, people don't want to talk about software because it's just really getting ripped on and pooped on in the market. I'm still a buyer always, like, and I think that's controversial. And I think, I don't know, because of
No,
like,
you're a sasshole.
yeah, I'm a total sasshole, but also because of our working relationship, Martin, like I've been so much more interested in the stock market and investing. And I think that, I look at, for example, like Duolingo, HubSpot, and CRM stock like all the time, and I look at their FA and Godel.
Yeah.
And if I like,
Oh,
I actually,
HubSpot's been destroyed.
dude, it's been getting cooked, and like that stock has just like changed my family's life. Like my brother worked there for a long time.
So HubSpot sitting here at 10-ish times earnings. Wow.
It's nuts.
Now, are they going to grow?
Dude, I love HubSpot. I mean, also there's just such a big service economy built around it, and I think that they already own a lot of trust within small business and mid-market on like the sales side and marketing side even. And I think that they're just going to crush it with building the right agents, as corny as that sounds. Like I think that Dharmesh, the CTO, he's got like a really good understanding of like where the business needs to go. He feels the pressure from the entire market, around AI. They're releasing the CLI, they're releasing API, like all of this stuff is a big focus for them, and I think that's one of the reasons why they will win. And I think part of like an even bigger reason is just they've already built the brand and they're the trusted brand to go to for CRM.
Well, why isn't Salesforce?
Yeah, Salesforce is great for like, the big enterprise. They actually crushed it like in the very beginning with just being the only CRM with custom objects. So it was just like the only answer if you're a really, really mature company, like massive operations, ERP integration, like that kind of stuff. But HubSpot just crushed it in the beginning with like SMB and mid-market. And then now they already have things like custom object. They're just so mature as well. You can really support a big enterprise sales organization using HubSpot's Rails. A lot of older businesses will definitely want to stick to their Salesforce guns, but I don't know. I'm a big HubSpot bull. And another reason that I'm very bullish on HubSpot is just because a lot of smaller businesses are going to be opening up over the next few years. And I think, that just doesn't stop. I think with AI, that accelerates too. A lot of people are going to be like, all right, I'm a 1-person organization, 5-person organization. I need a CRM. Like I have to reach out to 2,000 people, just little old me. And, you need infrastructure for that. And I think HubSpot has built an amazing brand around that and amazing technology and infrastructure. So,
yeah. So who else is out there? And tell us about the impact of vibe coding, because you do vibe code. And these tools are thought to be like relatively simple. So what stops somebody from vibe coding a HubSpot, and why, like we pay for it, what is the reasons that, they'll be able to get, charge firms like ours thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah, I think they're going to only continue to be able to do so because they provide a compliant option for us where I don't have to maintain anything. I don't have to go and worry about like, oh, what about the audit trails on like the deals getting moved throughout the pipeline? Like, I don't have to worry about like, any of our data going outside or somebody hacking into my computer where I manage the database. Like, imagine our CRM was hosted on my computer. Like, that would be so dumb, right? Like, it would put one point of failure, right? All of the data stored on one computer is just really stupid. But then another thing is just I tell Claude to go into HubSpot and do things for us using HubSpot's API. So HubSpot's API is pretty flexible because I gave it all of the scopes within HubSpot in the private app, but the actual MCP works too. It uses a little bit too many tokens, but it still understands exactly like what calls to make if I want to, understand like our close rates or understand like how long our sales cycles are taking or, what types of clients close versus what types don't. It knows what, fields to go get and what information to pull back. And if I don't have access to something through the MCP, it's able to get it through the API. Very, very liberal permissions there. So
I'm still not sure why I need HubSpot and I can't do it myself in a sentence.
Yeah,
that's the main reason.
It's just an easy button, and people love an easy button.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Yeah, that works. I mean, I think that's not wrong.
Yeah.
And so from a stock perspective, I think the main point here is what will it take for people to get there? And I think it's going to have to be something like, basically they see a few more quarters of growth, and you get through the vibe coding era without, you live through it basically. You don't see any downside, and then you sort of say, whoa, not only did I miss the growth of the last year where the stock was down, but I also have to catch up to the fact that the multiple, not to overuse that term, but this idea that we were going to pay less for cash flow for these kinds of companies. Now we have to go back to what we were paying for cash flow for these companies and the growth we missed while we were worrying about it. Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting long opportunity. I think a lot of people are trying to find the companies that are the most resistant to SaaS disruption. But and that's its own interesting question. I've always liked Adobe because it's relatively SaaS proof, I think, or I'm sorry, AI proof. People who don't understand Adobe's business model and think it's this tool that folks use for fun. This is a professional tool. It's a prosumer style tool, but it's a mix of professional and prosumer, where these are graphics designers and people that are not going to just jump over to their own vibe coded thing. Vibe coding's not that easy, by the way.
Nope.
It's not simple at all. Could you see companies like Anthropic and others kind of embed image editing, document editing in their systems. They already have to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still one of these things where you're not fully comfortable yet. And again, stocks discount 10, 20 years from now, right? So it's not like we know that it matters what the product does today.
Of course.
The question is, can you see 10 years from now, and what happens 10 years from now? Or is anybody using Photoshop anymore? And I think the answer is yes. Because I think the users that are using it are trying to get a, sort of the perfect kind of, system. Now, people still use IDEs, although IDEs are now shifting a little bit to terminal.
Have you heard of GIMP?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was just like a mass, free alternative to Photoshop.
Yeah, nobody used it.
Yeah. I feel like, if I could programmatically edit images through one of these.
You could. The question is, one of our old programmers kept saying that his friend does wedding photos professionally, and they don't use, Photoshop yet, because they don't use AI yet. Because,
okay. I was like, huh?
Because it doesn't have the quality, the features that they need to do their job, and that's a professional user.
Interesting.
The person at EA, the person at, Sony, the person at Electronic Arts, or Take-Two or something. They're using this stuff as a professional. They really need the layering and the special anti-aliasing, every tool that you can imagine. And sure, you could theoretically vibe code it, but it turns out that if it doesn't look right, it's not that simple. And AI is not very good at sort of image stuff because it can't see. It doesn't necessarily know what the quality looks like. So, Figma's down a lot. Somebody writes, I use GIMP 2 regularly.
Yeah.
I'm sure you use you use Linux too. The rest of the world is not you. The rest of the world wants the one-click solution where they're just pressing a button and they're on it.
Another thing with companies like HubSpot that facilitate auditable workflows, like for example, instead of me running a repeatable Python script on my computer that says, hey, grab from this database of our 2,000 contacts, based on these rules, email only these 600, a workflow like that, people definitely want an easy button. People like me, imagine, I didn't write a single line of code.
Trying to vibe code, that's difficult.
Exactly. Yeah. I just learned what a DAG is yesterday,
Yeah. Adobe tried to buy Figma, did not end up buying Figma. I think there is an eventual place to sort of pick at these stocks, But again, I think we tend to think about AI as what's going to happen today and tomorrow. What are my friends doing?
Yeah.
When that's not really that relevant. What's really relevant is, in 5 years and 10 years, what is OpenAI and other companies? Some haven't probably even been started yet.
Yeah.
What do they look like? So let's say there's a company that just wants to do image editing. Maybe it's Midjourney, maybe it's, There's a handful of them out there, but
Mm-hmm.
none of them are very good yet. But, will it be the kind of thing where you say, I do a photo shoot of Danny for the cover of Forbes, and
Mm-hmm.
the photo editor of Forbes says, make Danny look better. That's it. AI does it.
Chat got my back, bro. Chat got my back.
Right. You don't have to, if it's a photo shoot of me, they definitely have to do that, but they may not want to. But, they, 11 Labs raising at 22 billion. Somebody mentions 11 Labs in the chat. Unbelievable success story.
Carlos Reyna is Carlos Reyna. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but he's a legend there. He's like the head GTM guy, and he famously gave every salesperson a $2 million per head quota, and people are crushing over there.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah,
Unbelievable. One of the most successful GTM plans ever executed. So, getting back to some of the stuff, I think that, the AI company that sort of lets users do that, and the machine knows what to do and understands your vibe, and you can simply say, well, no, you went too hard on the eyebrows, keep those real, but, get to change the lighting in the room, something like that. These are the kinds of things that I can imagine Adobe doing too. And professionals want unique control over their tools. It's a little like old photographers and, some of these old jobs that are sort of going by the wayside, calligraphers, all this stuff sort of moving because of technology. So in a way, you're certainly looking at Adobe as in the rearview mirror. You're looking at even HubSpot in the rearview mirror because you're sort of saying, well, it's nice to have that tool, but will there come a day where we're post CRM?
yeah.
Where it's sort of like,
I just log into Codex, and it just knows every single status of every single customer through that, maybe the .md file that it updates on its own.
Maybe the interface is an email, maybe the interface is some other dashboard. But the question then becomes, like, why doesn't HubSpot do that? And the answer is, well, they might, but there's also going to be 50 YC companies that want to put them at business.
Monaco, Revo, Adio, Curtis over at Revo, he's doing amazing stuff. Sam Blond from Brex, he was CRO at Brex, he went over to start Monaco. All Monaco. Of these are AI, CRM, kind of
Monaco.gtm, right?
Yeah, there you go. That's that. There are a couple of AI companies that I'm really bullish on that I think will just benefit from being the picks and shovels, as people say. Parallel Web Systems is really cool if you have
private company.
Yeah. Parallel's private. So is Exa. They're both just like my understanding. Guys, take it easy on me. I'm not technical. These are services that allow your AI agent or whatever to go and search the web effectively. And I think these businesses are going to make a ton of money. It's all about just being the tool that Claude likes or the tool that Codex likes to use. It's the easiest for the machine to get a response back, and you optimize for that.
Yeah,
Cash.
I think the how do agents monetize, and how do they get deployed, and will they get deployed by who? It's a whole question that remains to be seen. And these are all private companies, so by the time the market sees them, it's kind of a little bit of a lost cause, so we'll sort of see how that plays out. But I certainly see every company now launching MCPs and launching different toolkits that allow agents, quote unquote, to interact. And again, I don't think that's for today. That's you want to be the guy who's doing agents in 2026 and MCPs in 2026, because in 2036, 2046, everyone's going to say, oh, I can't believe you dropped the ball on agents. And you want to be dedicated to it now. Just like Metaverse for Meta, they had to be dedicated to it in case it was the next big thing.
Correct.
And you don't want to miss the next big thing. You'd rather waste 10 million, 100 million, a billion even, if you're a big company, and say, okay, we'll tear down MCPs later. It turns out they were a fad. Agents were a fad. It's unlikely they'll be a fad. Zuckerberg did come out and say that that things are going a little more slowly than they would like, and
that pummeled everything before the weekend, right?
It did, and Alex Wang had to come out and say, well, he meant what I meant was that it was actually everybody on the agent side, not Meta, but everybody, the whole industry. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with some of the people just mentioned. which is that, I was relatively bearish on agents, and people were surprised to hear that. And I said, well, look, it's not that I'm bearish on agents, it's that I'm bearish compared to you guys who think that, every person on planet Earth wants to be a software engineer that, wants to tweak agents, while, if you ever actually use this stuff, it's not.
I have a Hermes agent. Did you set one up for yourself, or like an OpenClaw or anything?
No.
You never set it up for yourself? I'm sure a lot of the viewers that you have, have already fiddled around.
That we have.
Yeah.
No, there are plenty, but the question is, what can you really do with it? If you want to send an email, you can tell your agent to do it, or you can just go to gmail.com, which is not that hard.
I did want to tell everybody about the Form D thing, because I think that's actually useful. It's like one of the only things that I've found to be practical and useful, like from this little Hermes agent thing. It sends me every day a summary of all of the Form D filings from the day before. So it hits the SEC API. And this is actually something manual that I don't want to sit there and do. And also uses heuristics to rank which ones are mainly focused on equities versus like, this is clearly like bond feeder or credit feeder, like put that towards the bottom. But if this is like equity hedge fund LP, put that in the top 5, right?
So Form D, for anybody who doesn't know, Form D is what exactly?
So once again, guys, take it easy on me. My understanding is that Form D is the sale of registered securities. Unregistered securities.
Yeah, registered. Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically like you and me are starting a hedge fund. We have to tell the SEC, we're doing this, guys, and it's worth more than 150 M, so watch out.
So Form D is any unregistered sales.
Okay.
Hedge fund included.
Yeah. What I've noticed, that actually makes sense, because I do see something like 33 million, like actually, as small as like 14.
Then if you go over 150, you got to file 13F.
Okay, that was that other kind of little gate that I had in my brain that I was mixing up. So if you pass 150, you file that 13F. That's
somebody writes, MCP is the dumbest idea ever introduced. Luckily, it's getting buried soon. I don't know if I agree with that.
People, I've seen this discourse on Twitter, because it's essentially once again, take it easy. It's an API for an API. Like, it's literally just instructions for how does this computer crawl this API and get the most out of it. And what it ends up doing, to my understanding, is that it uses extra tokens, because it has to basically load that context extra. It's like,
I don't think it's such a bad thing, and I think you're getting this emergence that's sort of reminiscent of blockchain and reminiscent of other things where you're seeing cool things happening that you didn't expect, which is what emergence kind of means. And you have AI agents that are sort of almost feel like they're alive, kind of navigating all the MCPs out there, navigating all the environments that they can, and poking around the web and doing things, interacting. We're just seeing the dawn of this. In 5 years, 10 years, is it agents that have money and they're trading, or they're doing services for each other, or whatever it is. And for example, on the Form D side, you might say, listen, I want the most interesting one of all these. Say, I don't want to spare the compute to do it. My Hermes agent could do it. Think about a more computational intensive task. Rank every single Form D filing over the last year. I was like, a million of them. Give me the top 10 for what I'm interested in. Well, your Hermes agent might go to another agent and say, rank your agent. Can you do this? Oh, you're the best ranking agent in the game. Here's $50 and do it, and give me the results back. So I think that there's definitely work to be done here. Someone's asking about Venice rug pulling their token by raising equity. I do think they raised equity. I don't know what that means or meant for their token.
Final comment on that API MCP thing, because it's in my brain, and I actually would like people to correct me if I'm doing this wrong. For anyone that has like a lot of knowledge about this, what I've been doing, for example, like we use the HeyReach API. It automates like our LinkedIn outreach, like from me and Zach to other executives and other traders and investors. And what I've done is I just take the documentation from the HeyReach website, dump it in a folder, and I basically say, hey, like always refer to this documentation as how to use the API, instead of just, connecting an MCP or, setting something up that way. I just use the API directly and just keep the docs local, and I point the model at the docs.
Okay. And if people need to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
So my email is danny@dl.software.
And you're on Godel too?
I am on Godel Terminal, so I'm at Better Blanket, one word.
And if I type your name It should work, but it doesn't.
You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty open, and I'm on Twitter also. I'm at Danny
Have you
Grinberg.
filled out your bio
On what?
on Godale?
No.
BIO, ACM, PDF, ACM.
Martin's ending the stream because he's going to kill me real quick, and then he's going to turn it back on once I update
Yeah.
my bio.
Yeah, if you go to ACM, my understanding is you jump on ACM and you fill out the fields.
Oh, okay. Some of that actually might be there.
I'm looking for your name, so I don't think you have filled it out, but
Oh, okay. You're saying like once you fill out your name, it pops up directly in the Godel search. Okay.
correct.
Got
And then
you.
you could just type your name in there, or you could hit you up at Better Blanket.
Yeah, you could hit me up that way. Also, on Twitter, I'm at Danny Grinberg well, it's X now, all on one word.
Cool.
But yeah, hit me up, guys. I'm gonna get back onto the phones because they're calling. No pun intended.